Hello and welcome once again to From the Cheap Seats. We've been on hiatus for a while and I am sorry about that. I'm not really sorry about it, but it happened. My initial intention when doing From the Cheap Seats was to put out an episode every week, and that was just way too tedious and stressful. And in life, when things are impossibly busy, sometimes some things have to go, and I kind of realized, you know what, I'm not really changing anybody's mind. I'm just up here ranting, so people can live without From the Cheap Seats. But I'm back because there is something that's on my mind that I want to talk about. We in the Opera household are quarantined again. This is our third child who has had a bout with COVID. And let me kind of go through the history of this. My son, Max, he contracted the virus in March. And when he got it, he had the full-blown COVID experience. I mean, it was fetal position. I can't breathe. I'm sleeping all the time. I'm losing weight. I'm sweating. He really had it. And he's 18 and he's in peak physical condition. However, that didn't really affect me in a direct way because Max spends half of his time at his mother's house, his other half at my house, and he contracted the virus while at his mother's house. So he wasn't around me, so I didn't have to quarantine. The way it did affect me is I went weeks without seeing him, and you know, for someone like me who really loves to see his kids, it was kind of tough to deal with that aspect of it. But Max got through it. He finished school, he went to college, and he's been fine ever since. Now, in August, me and Kathy, we moved Rebecca to Missouri State. The day after we moved her in, she got a test result back that she was positive for COVID. Now, she didn't have the full-blown experience that Max had, but she did run a fever. She did lose the sensation of taste. She battled the fatigue. She had a problem, but it just wasn't nearly as biting as Max had. But being we had been around Rebecca, me and Kathy and Violet, we went up, we got ourselves tested for COVID, and we all tested negative. Yet we did the right thing. We quarantined for 2 weeks to ensure that if we did have it and hadn't yet manifested itself, that we were not going to spread it amongst other people. Now Violet has all the symptoms of COVID. Now, it's not a bad case. It's mostly the low-grade fever type thing. But she has not yet been tested, and I'm going to get into that in just a few moments. So we are doing the right thing again. We are quarantining for the next 2 weeks. We'll get off quarantine the Friday after Thanksgiving, which will be awesome. But we are doing the right thing because we don't want to be people who are inadvertently spreading this disease, because we know that we have been in contact with it. Now, I know that it's very difficult for some people to quarantine. There's the issue of, I can't just take 2 weeks off work because I came in contact with someone, my boss will fire me. Yes, that's a very real concern. Maybe this is an area where instead of just, every few months or every time, you know, the political winds blow right, we just throw $1,200 to every family. Maybe we should have a better plan that says, you know what, if you have to quarantine, that's when you're going to get some kind of stimulus, but that's a whole nother topic. That just makes sense. Anyway, I want to talk about the county I live in. I live in Jefferson County, Missouri. It's right south of St. Louis County, St. Louis City, Missouri. All summer long, we have had a controversy that has been brewing because St. Louis City and St. Louis County, they had mask mandates, and they had restrictions on what businesses could do as far as people gathering. Other counties in the state have had mask mandates, but in Jefferson County, we believe in our civil rights, and we believe that if we wear a mask, that is against our civil rights. So we protested, we got out, we protested, we will not wear a mask. Hitler made people do things like wear a mask. We're not going to do it. That brewed all summer, and then on August 28th, the county health board finally approved a mask mandate, which I was in favor of, I will admit. Within 24 hours, that mandate was overturned due to the notion that the mask mandate was the government trying to control us. People, I've got news for you. Do you know why we have speed limits? Because the government is trying to control us from speeding and driving too fast and unsafe on the highways. You want to know why? Because if the government didn't have laws to control us, we would be driving like a bunch of lunatics. We would have vehicle accidents all over the place, more so than what we have now, because we can't control ourselves. Do you know why we have assault laws? We have assault laws because we can't control ourselves. If someone wrongs us, the first thing we want to do is punch them in the face. We can't do that because we have laws, because one of the things that the government is there for is to protect us from ourselves. So if you're one of these people saying, well, I'm not going to wear a mask because it's the government trying to control us. Hello, that's what the government does. It controls us from ourselves. It makes us a civilized country. I have a local grocery store in my town. It is Save-A-Lot. I live in Peevely, Missouri. When you walk into Save-A-Lot, this is the sign you see. Okay, masks are recommended, but in bold letters, but not required. Because God damn it, we believe in civil rights more than science. Anyway, that is the county that I live in. That's the mindset that we have. Now, let me give you some statistics about Jefferson County. Our COVID rate is 27% of those that are tested are coming up positive. The government considers 10% of everybody tested coming out positive. That is considered to be in the high rate, the alarming rate. We are nearly 3 times that. That doesn't take into consideration those people who are not getting tested, like Violet, and I'll get into that in just a minute. Look at this chart. Look at how many people in our little county have COVID. Look at the deaths we have. 94 deaths so far from COVID in our little county. Our hospitals are stressed. Our doctors are stressed because they have to let all these people who have COVID, and I'm not talking about people like Violet, I'm talking about people like senior citizens. They have to open up these beds. They have to put ventilators on them. So then when people have other issues, and we do have the regular flu season coming up, there's not going to be enough beds and doctors to handle all these people. Why hasn't Violet been tested? It wasn't for a lack of effort. It's because of this. When you show up at a clinic, they're likely to say, sorry, we're out of tests, which happened to us. So I said, okay, when would you get tests? Well, you can try to coming back in a couple hours. I said, okay, well, I live 10 minutes away. Is it possible that by the time I get here, you're going to be out of tests again? She said, oh yeah, you can call us first. But in that 10-minute ride to get here, we may run out again. Or you can come at 6 o'clock in the morning and wait for 2 hours in this long line and then open up at 8. And you still might not get in because the virus is so rampant in this county. Getting tested is a crapshoot. When you show up, you don't know if you're going to get tested. So you know what? We thought, okay, Violet is not dying. She is not having the severe case that Max had 6-7 months earlier. So we'll just go ahead and do the quarantine. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Now, I'm going to tell you something that is an analogy. It is an analogy. It's not something I'm planning on doing, okay? This is my old carpenter knife. And I want you to look at this. I can't even get the blade to come up all the way, but this blade is still sharp. This blade is rusty. If I went out into society and I just walked by people and I slashed them with the rusty blade, I did that. You know what? Most of these people would recover. Yeah, you get some stitches, you know, pour some peroxide on it, you'll be fine, okay? There are a few people that might get tetanus. Okay, that's one of the risks, okay, but that's a very small, minute possibility that someone's going to get tetanus from me slashing them. Usually just the peroxide, putting a Band-Aid on it would be fine. There is another smaller percentage that some of these people, they may get, what do you call it? Geez, the word is escaping me right now. They may get staph infection. That's what I'm looking for. Staph infection, okay? And staph infection can be deadly. I've known people who've had staph infection, and yes, there are people who die of staph infection, but that's just a small, minute percentage of people. So it should be my civil right to go out and just slash people, you know, because we're Americans and we have civil rights and we can do stuff like that. It's a stupid analogy, but it's an effective analogy because you douchebags who are so against masks, it's the very same mentality. I can go out and I can do what I want. I can cough on what I want. I can spread my germs where I want because I'm an American and I don't want the government to control me. And yet you keep passing this on and passing this on and passing this on. How do you live with yourselves? If I went and I slash someone, I slash 100 people and one person dies of staph infection, you know what? I'm going to live with that the rest of my life. I'm going to feel terrible. I don't know how some people make it through the day. 94 deaths due to COVID, and some of you refuse to wear a goddamn mask. Well, screw you.